Muntanga, the property manager.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair. Good afternoon, Vice Chair. Good afternoon, Members of Parliament. My name is Simon Anashi. I'm the Audit and Risk Manager for Food Reserve Agency.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable Ministers. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Towela Jerry, Acting Procurement Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable Members. My name is John Chipandwe, Public Relations Coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Members of Parliament. My name is Zakaria Malamba, Acting Finance Manager.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and members. My name is Joseph Piri, Systems Administrator, FRA.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, ED and your team, you are most welcome again this afternoon. My name is Mijelo Kasauta, Member of Parliament for Wengo constituency, and I'm also the chairperson of this Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources. ED and your team, we are quite very much welcome this afternoon to attend before this committee. And as we are going to interact this afternoon, ED, kept cover of the laws of Zambia, which gives members of parliament, when they are in the house, which give them immunity, is the same capped cove, the same law which is going to be applied to you this afternoon, okay, during the time of engagement, that the immunity which the honorable members of parliament do enjoy is the same immunity which we are going to give you, that whatever you say cannot be taken or cannot be taken to end courts of law. But the same capped cover of the laws of Zambia, if you happen to mislead this committee willfully, it will turn against you. But we know quite all right that you've been attending, okay, to various committees in this Parliament of Zambia, and we've never heard, okay, any story, okay, no, an issue of misleading a certain committee. And we only hope that the trend, the custom will continue this afternoon. And we are going to look at the three bills. We'll ask you to present the three bills within 25 minutes AD, because of the time which honorable members do still have in the afternoon, because we have to give them at least just a short break during lunchtime so that they can go and attend afternoon parliament. So this time around, let me request you that straight away you go to salient points to every bill, so that thereafter, after 25 minutes, we can have time to engage and interact with the honorable colleagues. ED, this time around, we want to allow you to proceed with your submission.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, honorable members once more. It's really a great honor to appear before this honorable committee to share basically our salient features of the three bills that are being presented before yourselves. We have the following bills. We have the Food Reserve Bill, the Agriculture Credit Marketing Bill, and the Warehouse Licensing Authority Bill. In totality, Chair, we can safely submit that these are actually progressive pieces of legislation that intend and basically essentially purposefully drafted to grow the agriculture sector in Zambia. The growth of every sector is basically hinged on certain parameters, basically in the background. If there is well-organized production, there is well-organized marketing, then there is always certainty in an industry that all nitty-gritties or areas where basically there are certain gaps, they can be harmonized, and this basically is the intention of these bills. Let me begin with the Food Reserve Bill. In the bill, Chair, basically what it, in broader senses, the bill basically seeks to improve institutional coordination. What basically the bill seeks now to do is that there is in the bill the proposal for the creation of the Zambia Agricultural Marketing Council, which now has taken or is intended to take care of the marketing aspect of the agricultural production. you realize that currently we only have basically the food reserve agency is only focused at marketing or purchasing of stock from small-scale farmers and all the other producers, but we do not have an avenue in terms of when there is increased production, where the stock goes. So it has created, basically in this bill, there is the creation of the Zambia Agricultural Marketing Council, which will now address all challenges that are targeted at finding market. We can cite the current scenario where we have in the country now. The country basically registered the highest production in recorded history, which has been purchased. We do not have a fully formalized mechanism of marketing the stock. The same agents that bought the stock is now charged with the responsibility that it should now be able to engage in marketing. But the establishment of this particular council, the Zambia Agricultural Marketing Council, will now hive off those other challenges that are associated with marketing, in the sense that the moment the statistics are availed, the council will now start looking for market for the excess products in order for them to get basically the best premium price for the commodity. Secondly, the bill also seeks to harmonize domestic shortfalls. What is there is that our planning is hinged on evidence of statistics that are provided by the Zambia Agricultural Statistics Agency, the ZAMSTATS, which gives us the figures of the forecast production. It is on the basis of the forecast production that the agency plans on how much stock will be available for purchase from the small-scale farmers. So there is this now enhanced collaboration that going forward, every planning with the new bill that is coming, now the planning will be enhanced in terms of basically collaboration. Various other stakeholders will now come in, and it will be easier now to apportion who basically gets which part of the cake. The third arrangement, Chair, which we want to draw you to our writing, is that there will also be quite some level of enhanced predictability. Will be predictable in terms of how much stock we need to buy, for national strategic food reserves. As it now, the current bill in its form, basically we make assumptions on the basis of the figures given that the national strategic food reserves will be in this kind of a quantum. And we have, over a period of time, basically stated that national strategic food reserves will be in the range of about 500,000 metric tons, irrespective of the growth in the national population. But this bill now introduces a quantum of correlation that national strategic food reserves should be correlated with the population growth patterns. So you need to have a predictable aspect of predicting what your national strategic food reserve would be in light of this national statistics that you get from the census, the national census. So in overall aspect, Chair, we would not want also to ensure that, to state that this is basically a Bible without any limitations. We note that certain introductions of these pieces of legislation also have certain social consequences. The consequences basically that we predict might arise coming out with this particular bill is the aspect of social safety nets. As we commercialize the introduction through this bill, as we commercialize activities, there is need for social safety nets for those groups of people that might not be able to read what is contained in the bill. These social safety nets could be in the entry, or they could be mid-term, or they could be long-term. The idea is that as we migrate in commercializing the production or the marketing of the crop, we should not leave those of our social groups that might not be able to move with the trends of the commercialization. So we thought that the bill should be able to to take that into account. Furthermore, Chair, we also want to basically through this committee, make an appeal that, yes, the bill provides for a broadening of stakeholders in the market. But the key issue is that as you incorporate in other stakeholders, what kind of legislation goes into monitor or create an aspect of like an umpire? How do you regulate through certain legislation the active participation of other actors that you are now bringing in, but you have not given them limits of their participation? So we thought that the bill could be maybe enhanced slightly to incorporate elements of legislation of the behavioral pattern of stakeholders in the industry. I think, Chair, in a nutshell, basically in terms of limited time, for the Food Reserve Agents bill, this basically we feel are key things that we thought we should be able to bring to the attention of the committee. My colleagues might at a later stage also be able to provide further insights. Maybe with your indulgence, Chair, I can move to the Warehousing Licensing Authority.
Please proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, when you look at the Warehousing Licensing Authority, Chair, we're actually looking at another piece of progressive legislation that now takes away the burden of the primary burden actually which will be addressed through this bill, are post-harvest losses. Most of our production has been lost because of lack of basically a well-organized warehousing system. Now this bill basically seeks now to address those elements that as a producer goes into production, he is guaranteed that there is an institution or there is a facility where, as they look for market and the stock, instead of being exposed to the vagaries of weather, they can deposit it in a safe storage facility, keep it, and get a license or a tradable instrument that they can be able to discount at any institution, be it in terms of getting inputs or through the bank for them to get immediate some cash for their immediate use. Meanwhile, waiting for the actual produce which they have deposited in the warehouse to get at a point where they can get an economic or a premium price. So the benefit actually is more on the aspect of getting the real value for the crop at a time when it's opportune, as opposed to trade it on the basis that you do not have where to store your grain. So this is actually a primary aspect that this bill seeks to address. Secondly, when you look at it from the general economic aspect, it actually now introduces another element of investment. Now it will be quite profitable to actually invest in warehouses, because you'll be guaranteed that if there's going to be production, which is basically certain that in every season you produce, there will always be need for storage space which you need to be where to keep the stock. Government has now introduced a number of interventions, and we're talking about basically winter and early maize production. When you put the collective production statistics from these, definitely the current housing storage space which we have currently will not be able to accommodate it. Therefore, this particular element of the introduction of this bill will be able to stimulate private sector investments to create a lot of space. And alongside that, which is tied to it, is basically the introduction of the agricultural credit facility, which now provides for affordable low interest credit to stimulate production. Chair, I thought I could have to submit. I'll allow my colleague, the legal counsel, to add with your indulgence, Chair.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Yes, counsel, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I would have wanted to add a number of things, but I think the ED has said almost everything that I would have wanted to say. And with the indulgence of the ED, perhaps I feel like most of the issues that arise are more of operational nature than legal nature. With the indulgence of the ED, perhaps maybe the planning manager may add a thing or two on operations.
Sure.
Submit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, the views are progressive, and we have reviewed in terms of the positive effects that they will bring in the cattle sector, as well as also looking at one or two areas that will be affected in the implementation process. We wish to say or support what our executive director has presented in terms of the positive effect of the bill. Of course, just taking note of a few challenges that may come through, which are also need to be taken care of, which is the position of our farmers, as this bill, the current bill, as the current act protects or provides market to provides market to small-scale farmers. So that needs to be taken into account, and also see a way that farmers from rural communities or rural areas are also taken care of as we implement the new bill. Equally, the bill on warehousing is quite progressive as well, just as presented earlier. It also organizes the agricultural marketing, in that at the time that we have heightened production, there will be a mechanism in a way that the production is preserved and protected, and so that the farmers out there that are producing do not lose out in terms of when market prices are low on the markets. Maybe with that, we'll be coming in later for one or two submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, Eddie, maybe you can proceed to the last bill.
Sorry, Chair, we tied together the Warehousing Licensing Authority and Agriculture Marketing Credit Bill.
But yes, yeah, it was.
Yes, we tied them together because basically the other one supports the implementation of the other. Sure.
Thank you very much. I think this time around, Eddie, I don't know if you can allow us to start the interaction. Honorable colleagues, are there questions or points of clarifications? Honorable colleagues, yes, let me start with Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. FRA, your proposed bill, there are other stakeholders who have actually lamented that the voice of a small-scale farmer is not actually amplified in your bill. So I wanted to hear from your end, what is your take on this one? And then the second question, again, the other stakeholders who have lamented that you have given so much powers to the minister. If you look at part 3, it gives the minister too much powers. So the stakeholders are asking, why is it that the minister should be given so much powers when it comes to this bill? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone take note of that, Eddie, so that we at least allow 3 honorable colleagues to ask 3 questions at a time? Yes, honorable colleagues? Yes, honorable Vice Chair.
Yes, Chair. FRA, on the limited farmer participation, I observed that there's limited inclusion of smallholder farmers' voices in determining designated commodities, pricing decisions, and operational priorities. So I need your comment. And introducing this bill, ED, the Food Reserve Bill number 33 of 2025, if enacted into law, will it address the inefficiencies within your institution, such as digitizing depot level monitoring, strengthening logistics, and reduction of post-harvest losses? What is your reaction? Thank you so much, Chair. I think they can take the 3.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Malamba.
Thank you very much, Chair, and Edie, thank you very much for this elaborate submission you have given. I want to find out from you, FRA, given the bumper harvest and the strong demand for maize and other crops, can you provide an update on your storage capacity investment? Are you currently having challenges in terms of storage? And if you have, don't you think that is one of the things that are increasing your cost overheads in terms of how to store your produce, looking at the lack of capacity to store the huge bumper harvest that has been going on in the country? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Yes, Eddie, you can respond to those three questions.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much, honorable members, for these valid clarifications that are being sought. Let me begin with the farmer's voice. Okay. Our understanding of this bill is that farmers are organized through their representative institutions. We have the Zambia National Farmers Union, we have the National Association for Small-Scale Farmers, we have SAFADA. There are various organized groups for these small-scale farmers. And when you look at our board representation in the Act, each of these institutions, they have their representations. This indicates that the interests of these various interest groups, through their board representations, they are actually addressed. But I agree with the concern, the observation that yes, some farmers feel they are not being heard. But it's a question that now should be thrown to the institutions that make representations on their behalf. How inclusive are they in terms of collecting their data? That should be brought in to the attention of the agency or the board in order for them to make a decision. So I think it's through legislations, through the institution like Parliament, that these institutions, or what you call as basically the farmers' representative institutions, should be able to have evidence-based data that they should be able to bring to the board, for which the board could be able to bring in for inclusions in such kind of a registration. But what I'm saying is that, Chair, we have the voices of these institutions through their representative bodies that sit on our board. Thank you. Then the issue with the minister's powers, it's difficult basically to indicate whether these powers are too much for the minister. But every industry needs registration, because if it's not limited, if it's not regulated, there will be a lot of chaos. Let me take the current scenario, Chair. We have what we call the stock monitoring committee meetings, where institutions that basically keep stock are obligated or obliged by law to periodically present the statistics of the stocks that they hold. And the minister, and when these institutions come, they can either decide to mislead or decide not to mislead, depending on how they feel the market dynamics are playing. I'll cite one example. These very institutions, when they want to export, they will come and declare surplus stocks. And they will tell you, can you give us market? Can you open up the market so that we export the excess? Secondly, again, the same institutions, you come to the second meeting, they will come and tell you, no, we don't have sufficient stocks, so ban exports. But if this is not regulated through the minister's advisory notes, you actually come to realize that the private players will benefit more at the expense of the producers. So the minister basically sits to regulate the players on the market, and these are the powers that are actually included in this particular bill and in the presentations. So it's difficult basically to ascertain whether these powers are excessive or not. But at the current level of operation, I think the industry still needs the minister's powers to regulate the players on the market. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Then there is an aspect about the Honorable Minister about FRA inefficiencies. These are operational issues, Chair, and every effort is being made basically to address operational efficiencies. I think these are issues to do with how we organize, mobilize the stocks, and move it to self-storage. These we have noted, and we basically agree with the observation of the Minister that a lot still needs to be done in improving our operational efficiencies, basically to ensure that we do not act as encumbrances to the farmers' storage aspect. The last aspect was our storage capacity. I wish to inform the committee that currently our installed storage capacity is 1,125,000 metric tons. This is our installed storage capacity. And every effort is being made basically to expand our storage capacity. And this is an investment plan that the agency basically has actually put in place. But a quick rider is that now we are broadening stakeholders in the industry through the introduction of the Warehousing Licensing Authority. And it's our prayer that if this is taken on board, then we'll have a lot of other players that will be able to invest in storage facilities, and it will reduce the aspect of storage space and post-harvest losses. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Tengwa.
Just a follow-up question on the powers of the ministers, because the stakeholders did actually indicate and said that these powers which are given to the minister may be politicized as a result of that abuse and probably infringing on the rights of individuals. So the issue is, I wanted to find out whether it is okay we allow this oversight be done by either the judicial process or parliamentary oversight. Then the other question, I'll take you to part 4 of this bill, the agriculture credit and warehouse. Part 4, it says that the authority shall establish and maintain an electronic warehouse receipt payment in which all warehouse receipts issued advance and agriculture issued by a warehouse operator with this act, a contract, advance and agriculture charges shall be recorded. I just wanted to find out whether you or Kashina in Zambezi, where you have serious challenge of ICT infrastructure. So have you taken into consideration for you to give somebody business or somebody who wants to operate a warehouse and yet he still has the challenges of network connectivity? You and I understand these challenges that we are facing. So is it the right time we should even probably think of enacting this law when we know that we still have serious challenges when it comes to ICT infrastructure and network connectivities? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Vice Chair.
Yes, Chair. The bill outlines your institution's obligations, but does not provide mechanisms to improve the smallholder farmers' access to timely payment, market information, and training on quality standards. This is what I've observed. You also talked about introducing quantum correlation. My understanding is that you are expanding designated commodities and increasing your responsibilities. This is my understanding. You correct me. Don't you think this is going to rise on government expenditure on procurement, storage, and market stabilization, taking into account that this overburden on the national budget will undermine sustainability, especially during years of poor harvest and high commodity prices? What is your reaction? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Yes, Eddie, you can respond to those 3 concerns.
Thank you so much, Chair, and most grateful for those areas of clarification. Let me begin with an aspect of the ICT infrastructure in tandem with the proposed warehousing infrastructure. I think that was basically taken into consideration as this bill was being drafted, in the sense that this now calls actually for investments to expand the ICT infrastructure. Currently, basically what is provided in the interim is we are riding on the aspect that where those services are not available, there are mechanisms basically to using another parallel system of recording and basically the paperwork. But we would not want it to have the bill limited on the basis of isolated areas that are not reachable. But the idea is that as we progressively reach those areas, then we'll basically be able to harmonize or the operation of the warehousing licensing authority. Secondly, also it's associated with this is that as it drives demand for the development of ICT infrastructure in those areas, it correspondingly also introduces other facilities that will benefit with the introduction of these other facilities. So it's a multiplier effect that basically triggers for the investment in these areas, so that this particular area is accommodated as we address one particular element. Whether the minister's powers would be politicized is a debatable issue, because basically the intended regulations have little or no political bearing. We are talking about managing stakeholders within the sector. So stakeholder management might not necessarily be considered as, we might not consider stakeholders as politicians, because we want to consider those stakeholders as institutions with vested interest in the industry. So those need to have an arbiter or an umpire who basically now takes control of these players to create a harmonized position. For instance, those very powers protect the producer by ensuring that the minister will be able to determine certain parameters of production, incentives. It also, at the same time, protects the traders and other stakeholders by regulating the policy measures that basically affect or are used to in the industry for trade, food security stabilization, and other parameters that are considered critical basically for the sector to thrive. Honorable members, the agriculture sector is a very sensitive sector that if it's not regulated, the country could actually be set on fire. Imagine if now you let the private sector to start determining arbitrarily the price of meal. I think the very parliament will be the one that will come back and say the agriculture sector is failing. So you need a regulated industry in order to balance up basically the players on the market. I think there was a very critical question, I think, raised by the Vice Chair on the training capacity building especially in quality control. We have taken a deliberate effort as an agency that this actually is mainstreamed within our work programs, because quality control in the agency is actually critical for the maintenance of strategic food reserves. And you saw in the in the last year that there was basically a lot of crowding at our depots. That was essentially caused by the agency's ability to ensure that we maintained or we collected from the farmers quality stocks, and that particular quality assurance is actually something we do not compromise. We ensure that we maintain what we buy from the farmers is it meets the quality standards that are set by the institution. When our minister appeared in Parliament, I think he produced legislations that actually prescribe what kind of parameters need to be met as we procure the stock, in terms of one, the moisture content, the impurities that are allowable impurities, and the third aspect, I think it's about the the weight of the stock. So all these parameters serve basically to ensure that we have sustained and long-term storage of the stock. So training is actually something we periodically have mainstreamed in our work plans, and we keep on improving. Now that we are also basically going on the international market to market our products. I think the last aspect was from the Vice Chair again on the increasing cost by the introduction of these bills. It's inevitable not to incur certain costs as we introduce certain measures to improve the operations. So indeed, Chair, yes, there are associated costs to these bills. These costs, when you weigh them against the intended purposes, they actually serve to be incurred. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, Edie. We note the removal of representative from the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, okay, from the board. What is the rationale? I think it's better that we, the honorable members, do understand this critically.
And
yes,
also, Chair, it is your submission, ED, that previously your institution offered acceptance of undergraded grain. So what is the clarification there?
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me start with the last one, the undergrad maize. My colleague will provide a further response on the ungraded maize. Let me address the aspect of the non-representation from Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. The agents currently in the prescribed designated commodities basically deals with cereals and grains as per the Act. And that's why basically representation is only confined to the Ministry of Agriculture, which deals with those designated commodities. Maybe if the mandate of the agency is broadened also to include the sale of livestock products, there could be an inclusion of the representation from the Chair. I call upon the Director planning to...
Okay, yeah.
Just on the part of the omission of the Minister of Livestock, you realize to say that most of the stock feeds that we have in the country, they are produced primarily from maize. And based on that fact, you have chicken, we have pig, dairy industry, and predominantly Zambia feeds most of the animals that they sell on the market using the maize grain. How do you feel if we were to leave the Ministry of Livestock that they will not be shortchanged based on the fact that they are also serious consumers in terms of the cereals that you buy as well? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malambo. I think the key word now is on the integrated.
Exactly.
Yes. You proceed now.
Thank you so much, Chair. No, in fact, the Chair already answered the question on my behalf. The aspect is that the agents basically provides in our computation of the strategic food reserves, we take into account both human and animal consumption requirements. So they are not completely excluded. We include them on the aspect of the cereals that they consume from the agriculture sector. So they are actually taken into consideration. Thank you, Chair. Director Marketing will take the other question.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The response provided was actually trying to look at the challenges small-scale farmers will face in accessing the market, which is privately driven. So that point was that of reducing flexibility to set farmer-friendly purchase conditions. This is what this new bill takes away from FRA. So we were trying to spot that there were some developments which were able to handle under the current law. which, for example, of course, when we are buying our commodities, we provide sieves. Sieves in themselves, they are able to grade the grain that comes in. But when we talk of warehousing and licensing route, we strictly have to grade the commodities to participate on the market. So farmers strictly have to grade the maize grain and provide assurance that what is in the warehouses is that of the given quality and of given standard. So at this point, farmers will be really required that all the commodities that are in various warehouses, they meet certain grades that are required to participate on the market or to win on the market. That's a point that we are trying to put across. Currently, we are able to handle various grades that come to us. Although we clearly put it, it's grade A maize, but the tool that we use to get that grade A, we can simply say it is in terms of the size, it are the sieves that we provide across. But there will be more stricter requirements and the conditions under the warehouse receipting system that our farmers out there need to prepare for. That was the point that was being driven there. I submit.
Thank you very much. Edie, I think let me still come back to the same issue, which is still on the table. Edie, will we break a bone if we happen to bring back the representative on the board from the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock?
I don't think that there's much harm that can be done with the introduction of that officer. Maybe what it will actually do, it will enhance basically the planning aspects by them now indicating what other commodities they will be required for the industry. Currently we make an assumption that they only need maize, they might need soybeans, but if they are brought on board, they'll be able to indicate which other commodities might need to be purchased as designated commodities. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, they are quite very important. I think it's something which really need to be looked at. Yeah, before the end of our program, of our sitting this week, I think that thing must be rehearsed further. Because, I think under the Ministry of Livestock, even cotton, sunflower, and a lot of crops are being used under that. I think once we incorporate them, I think they can be of value as well if they are put on the board. I think it's quite very important. And we'll keep on discussing about that matter because it's quite very serious. Yes, and what should you recommend, as integration mechanisms of other players that have been incorporated under the Aquacultural Marketing Bill number 35 of 2025, as a way of regulatory, their participation and behavior from your end as FRA under the bill?
Maybe I don't know whether I caught it correctly, but my colleagues will be able to. The aquaculture sector, this is basically, is it grown fish? Yes. I think it's captured, I think, in the area submission of the incorporation of the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. I think the similar pattern as we responded that if they are brought on board, there are certain elements that could have been overlooked by just limiting the participation of these institutions. Their participation might also broaden the inclusions. And since we are looking at agriculture as a comprehensive package, I think basically there will be no harm in their representation. And maybe the other thing, Chair, which we might need to consider as we move forward, is that all these bills, the overriding fact is that climate change impacts on all these bills. And I think there might be need to make considerations that the Ministry of Environment also becomes an active player in all these bills, to take concerns and interest of changes in the climate as they impact on the bills.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very critical point you brought in.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, because these are the issues now. I think in every ministry and every organization, we really need even now to start having a desk for climate. Climate change is real, and it has really affected our economies, especially here in Africa. Tropical countries, I think they are the very most vulnerable. Yes, and I think you are quite aware that in the last 1 or 2 years, I think the temperature have increased by 1.5 degrees, which is not very good, and it is still increasing. And you can see the big players, countries like America and China. They don't pay extra attention, and they don't care about ourselves. So it is the ball is in our hands. We really need to work extra hard on that part. Edie, your final words, your concluding remarks.
First of all, let me actually thank the committee for granting us opportunity to come and meet with yourselves and share our concerns. We have learned quite a lot through this interaction, and that as we go in the process of now implementing, depending on the outcome from Parliament, we will go now with a broadened mindset that we will be able to take these. Furthermore, I think we want also to appreciate basically the interaction and the opportunities that if the committee would be able to allow us, would love to have a continuous and predictable engagement with the committee to share concerns, so that as you legislate, you are basically also taking concern of some of the issues that we will encounter as we go in the field in the implementation of these bills. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Edie and your team. We are so grateful as a Committee on Agriculture. We are so grateful. Thank you very much for the wonderful discussion and sharing of ideas. We have also learnt a lot as the Honourable Members of Parliament on your 3 submissions. Quite very insightful. Edie, thank you very much, and we just want to wish you all the best and God's blessing. But as we are going back, now as we are coming now to our tail end of our program, you remember quite right when you entered this afternoon that we had conferred you with a immunity which the Honourable Members of Parliament do enjoy when they are in the House. This time around, we want to withdraw the immunity so that you go back as Food Reserve Agency officers. We thank you very much, and may God bless you. Thank you very much. There is a request that we have.
Thank you so much for staying with us on Parliament Television. We've come to the end of today's live parliamentary proceedings, and these are committee, and they were coming from here at the committee buildings. And this is the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources, looking at the Agriculture Market Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2025, the Agriculture Credit and Warehouse Receipts Bill, National Assembly Bill of 2025, and lastly, they also looked at the Food Reserve Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2025. Earlier on, we had Zari as the first witness, and these are the Zambia Agriculture Research Institute, made their submissions, and later on we were joined by the National Union for Small-Scale Farmers of Zambia, also who did present their submissions to this committee. And lastly, we've just witnessed the Food Reserve Agency, FRA in short, appearing before this committee and also share their thoughts regarding these 3 bills. So it was referred to this committee by the Right Honourable Madam Speaker to scrutinize and share the experience and how these other stakeholders look at these 3 bills. My name is Paulson Tindovi. On behalf of my 2 sign language interpreters, Jason Manda and Chola Kaoma. We'll be back tomorrow for live parliamentary committee proceedings. But do remember that at 14:18, 14:20 thereabout, my 2 colleagues will be here to cross over to the chamber, and they'll share with you business that was considered on the floor of the House and some of the announcements that were made by the First Deputy Speaker, and also interest you to what is expected to be considered on today's order paper. Thank you so much for your time, and let's do this tomorrow, and keep watching Parliament Television.